The Hunger Games is a popular dystopian science fiction series created by Suzanne Collins, set in the post-apocalyptic nation of Panem, which consists of a capital and 13 districts. The first installment of the series sold over 800,000 copies by February 2010. By 2012, when the first movie was released, the entire trilogy had sold 27.7 million copies in total. The Hunger Games book series has sold over 100 million copies worldwide, has been translated into 54 different languages, and has amassed a gross total of $3.3 billion in box office revenue. The Hunger Games itself is a punishment for the districts created by the capital to serve as a reminder for their failed rebellion, also known as the Dark Days. 24 children aged 12 to 18 are reaped from the districts and sent to the capital, where they will fight to the death in a televised arena. The story follows Katniss Everdeen, a 16-year-old girl from District 12 who volunteers in place of her younger sister, Prim, for the 74th Hunger Games. Throughout her time under the capital's eye, Katniss becomes a symbol of rebellion against the capital regime. In today's video, we're going to be discussing a very niche aspect of the franchise itself, which is the topic of Titus, his games, and the implications that it meant for the capital. Among the many horrors woven into the Hunger Games' history, one year that is mentioned stands out as particularly disturbing. Not because of the brutality that stems from children killing children, but because it breached a boundary even the capital could not stomach. This specific year became especially infamous for the actions of a male tribute from District 6, named Titus. District 6 is one of the 13 districts of Panem whose principal industry comes in the form of transportation. Not a lot is canonically known about District 6, its industry never even being revealed in the original trilogy, causing fans to wait until the first film adaptation was announced, where it was revealed alongside District 5. District 6 is the largest district in Panem in terms of population, with a population of 784,453 people. Some well-known tributes that originate from this district include Welly from Sunrise on the Reaping, the Morphlings, and Titus. In a disturbing turn of desperation and madness, Titus began to eat the corpses of the tributes he killed. Unlike the typical glorified violence the capital embraces, Titus's descent into madness and subsequent acts of cannibalism disturbed even the most spectacle-hardened viewers. The capital, whose appetite for violence generally knows few bounds, intervened, sending peacekeepers into the arena to stun Titus so that they could retrieve the dead bodies before he consumed them further. This incident presents a sharp irony. The very premise of the games revolves around televised slaughter of children for entertainment, and yet it seems cannibalism is where the capital draws the line. Eventually, Titus died in an avalanche, which was widely believed to be orchestrated by the game makers themselves. It was an execution marked as misfortune, eliminated the possibility of a victor whose methods challenged the capital's curated image of power, order, and taste. What's more revealing is why cannibalism in particular was too much. The capital has always relied on a strict division between themselves and the districts. Refined versus primitive, civilized versus savage. Yet, during the Dark Days, it was the capital who descended into the most primal of behaviors. As quoted in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, humans, particularly dead ones, had become their daily fare. During the worst of it, of course, humans had eaten humans as well. Cut off from the districts and facing starvation, capital citizens themselves resorted to cannibalism. In the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, Coriolanus Snow recalls witnessing his neighbour eat the leg of a deceased housemaid, an act that lingers in his memory as both shameful truth and a foundational trauma. This historical context matters. For a capital that is so obsessed over controlling its narrative, Titus was not just a cannibal. He was a reflection. He shattered the illusion that brutality only belongs to the districts, reminding the capital of their most kept secrets. By putting a swift and brutal end to his story, the capital wasn't just silencing a boy, they were burying a memory. The shame projected onto Titus became a tool. His actions revealed, his name remembered with horror, but never truly examined with empathy. When Katniss Everdeen reflects on Titus in the first Hunger Games book, she does so with fear and disgust. In chapter 10, Katniss says, "One of those raging beasts tributes, the kind who tries to eat someone's heart after they've killed them. There was a guy like that a few years ago from District 6, named Titus. He went completely savage, and the game makers had to have him stunned with electric guns to collect the bodies of the players he'd killed before he ate them. There are no rules in the arena, but cannibalism doesn't play well with the capital audience, so they tried to head it off. There was some speculation that the avalanche that finally took Titus out was specifically engineered to ensure the victor was not a lunatic. But it's important to remember that Titus, too, was a child, somewhere between 12 and 18 years old. He was trapped in a death arena, starving, traumatized, and alone. His choices were grotesque, but they were made under horrific conditions. While the Capitol wrote his story as a monstrosity, we are left to question what desperation and psychological collapse look like behind the camera. As readers, we are aware of the measures that the Capitol goes to edit out any act of rebellion in the broadcast. His actions are horrifying, don't get me wrong, but so is the system that forced them. Even his name invites reflection. Titus evokes Shakespeare's Titus Andronicus, a tragedy soaked in vengeance and madness. In the play, the title character responds to his daughter's assault with a cycle of escalating violence, ultimately killing her attackers and baking them into a pie served to their mother. Here too, we find themes of rage, grief, and violence, and the body turned into a vessel of revenge. In Roman mythology, Saturn devoured each of his sons to prevent the fulfillment of a prophecy that they would overthrow him the same way that he overthrew his father. The chilling imagery of this is immortalized in Francisco Goya's painting Saturn Devouring His Son, where the god is shown mid-bite, eyes wide with madness and terror. There is something deeply instinctual, almost animalistic, about Saturn's depiction. That same primal compulsion can be seen in Titus, not as an act of cruelty, but one of psychological fracture. He devoured because the games broke him. Viewed through the literary and mythological lenses, Titus becomes something more than a capital horror story. He is a reminder that beneath every monstrous act is a monstrous cause, and more often than not, that cause is the capital itself. Let me know down in the comments what you guys thought of this. I found the topic extremely interesting to research and write about. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!